Great. Today we welcome Chris Cavallerano and Joe Roberts to the show. Chris is the founder of Motivo Inc. and a consultant coach and social entrepreneur. He works to optimize both for-profits and nonprofits and is considered a champion of the human spirit. He's valued for his leadership and support of social causes because of his ability to inspire organizations and people to achieve excellence. In 2012, Chris ran the Boston Marathon blindfolded and in record heat to support literacy for blind children. His efforts were featured in Runner's World and the CrossFit Journal and ESPN Boston. Most recently, in partnership with the Reebok Foundation, Chris led the successful launch of a district-wide before-school fitness program, as you may all very well know, be familiar with, BOX. And he's received numerous grants and cultivated strategic partnerships due to his efforts. Chris and his wife, Jenny, are also parents to 3 boys. Joseph P. Roberts, Jr., gotta say that just right, is the managing partner of Roberts Financial, a second-generation financial management organization. And on the playing field in the Wellesley community, in 1991, Joe founded Terrier Sports, a unique, rewarding, multi-year sports program for youth development that provided fun and enjoyable environments for kids to relax and enjoy a balance of unstructured play and team sports. Joe has also been an integral part of the Wellesley Little League Baseball organization as coach, member of the board of directors, and president. And in 2007, he completed a multi-year effort to plan, fund, build, and light Wellesley's Little League Reedy Field. Later that year, the Wellesley Townsman newspaper named Joe to the Townsman 10, I believe, honoring his years of contributions to the town and having enriched the lives of generations of kids while observing the emerging needs of the youth community as a parent of 3 public school students and sports participants. So Joe was inspired to create community investors to further serve the community and ultimately others. That is quite a resume for both of you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you on today. Tell us about community investors.
Well, I think community investors is really all about creating positive, impactful experiences to kids, middle school kids in particular. We call them pies, and it's really all about getting kids active after school, having fun, playing ball, connecting with one another, face to face rather than through their electronic devices. Building a sense of school community, and again, going back, I think having fun being a real key. And we both have had kids in the middle school, and it's a great school. The Wellesley Public Schools do an amazing job in many different ways. But we both saw a need for more at the middle school, specifically after school. And with our backgrounds, we got to talking and said, let's try to do something, and that's where it all started, really.
So, what's the aim of community investors? What's the mission?
I think what we're really trying to do in the near term is to help the schools and help our community build social emotional resiliency. It's now kind of a hot word in academia in terms of a lot of the qualities that we just took for granted growing up, that we were able to develop through the sandlot or through neighborhoods, no longer happen. So what we're trying to do is to create that sandlot and build a place for kids to play and relax and find joy and find each other, frankly, and hopefully build kind of these micro lessons that will ultimately help them be successful when they're in high school and beyond. That's a big struggle right now in terms of nationally.
Right, and I assume with some adult supervision, so it's not just out by themselves somewhere playing, like it used to be.
Right, but that's the big difference is that, I think adults have the best intent and want to be, on top of things and stuff, but when you're kind of disconnecting the child from the experience, they're not learning. So what we try to do is we have coaches who are high schoolers and they're kind of mentors and referees. It's very much about the kids and for the kids. And if we're doing our jobs well, we just hang back in case there's any major issues.
Right.
And believe it or not, kids can kind of handle it. It's so oftentimes, unfortunately, when parents kind of intervene,
Right.
that kids lose out on that experience.
The soccer moms.
Or whoever, we're all guilty in one way, shape, or form.
I can say that because I am a mom. So. You guys can't say that, but I can. That sounds great. So, and this is around sports, right? So you organize a lot of different kinds of sports, and then the kids come together around playing something.
Yep.
It's like group sports.
Right now. In the fall we're doing flag football, soccer, and basketball. Winter time we do dodgeball, and we're going to try to be able to continue our basketball program in the winter. Gym space is a challenge, so we hope we can find some gym time to keep the kids playing basketball as well as the dodgeball. But yeah, we're doing, the physical activity is a big thing. It really is something that is, it's a real challenge. We've both been involved for many years, and you really can see the difference where kids are just not as active today as they were even 10 years ago. And the electronics is, I think, really the reason why. It's pretty simple. I mean, those things are very, they draw the kids right in.
Right.
And you see them, walking around right after school, 2:30 down Linden Street,
Right.
and they're walking around like that.
And that was even before Pokemon Go came out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, the question is like, what do you do about that? How do you deal with that? And one of the answers is you just try to make more programs available to them that are fun and engaging, and then you try to get them out there as much as you can, and that's what we're doing.
And where would I go if I wanted to sign up for flag football?
We have a website, communityinvestors.net. We really make a strong point of saying to everyone that number one, our programs are no fee because we want to encourage as many kids participating as possible. And number two, we have a walk-in, open door policy. Anytime, a kid could be walking down the hallway and poke his head in the gym, and we're like, you want to, jump in at any point. Because a lot of these kids, sometimes they may not know about it, even though we're trying to get the word out there as much as possible. And even if they know about it, maybe they haven't tried it before. We are always encouraging kids, tell them bring a friend, just get as many kids as we can out there having fun.
And where are you located? Tell us where you're at.
Where our
Right.
programs?
Or where the building is, so if someone wants to drop by.
Organizationally, we operate out of our treasurer's kitchen
Excellent.
kitchen table, right?
Yeah.
That's our headquarters.
That's HQ. Okay.
Yeah.
And then where do they go to the rec center? And it's part of where do you hold your sports?
We're right at the middle school because I think that's that's a big part of like we want to offer the things right at the school because if you think of it with a middle school, as a middle school parent, the second they walk out of that school, they're gone.
Right.
And so we want to get them right there, either right in the gym or right at the field down at the bottom of the hill. And so we're right there.
Right. That's awesome. So it's also less driving for the parents.
Right. So so one of the things that we do, because it is all about play for all, and we understand kids take the buses for various reasons. We have kids from Metco that participate in our programs, and it's important for us to give them that 8th period of unstructured play, and then let them get back on the bus and get back to sort of what they would otherwise be doing.
Right.
But that kind of window, not just kind of middle school adolescence, but also immediately after school, is so vital for the kids to really disconnect and move from technology, from social pressures, and reconnect as humans. And we see kids just really coming out of those sessions very refreshed, relaxed, vibrant, and that's for us up high.
Yeah, I think anyone who enjoys exercise understands if you do anything, you feel better afterwards, and a lot of times that carries with you for the rest of the day. And so that is why we look at that one little hour. It's just so critical. And it's not like we're doing anything fancy. We're just they're getting out there and running around for 45 minutes, having fun. But that definitely makes a difference for those kids, and especially at those middle school ages where they are going through so much, physically, mentally, socially. They're going through a lot. So if we can give them 45 minutes of just fun activity, we really believe it's helping those kids out dramatically.
I think part of our goal is that if a child feels better about themselves and they feel more connected with their community, the less likely they are to hurt themselves or to contribute negatively to the community. And we've seen that. We give kids positive opportunities to do things, they will do that. In the absence of that, they're going to make kind of bad decisions or the wrong decisions.
Yeah, one of the organizations that we follow is called the After School Alliance, which is like a national nonprofit, and one of their key statistics is kids who are not involved in after-school activities are 50% more likely to experiment with drugs and alcohol. I mean, and that it makes sense in a bad way. It's just, you know, if kids don't have something productive to do, it can lead to things like that, and that's really, you know, again, it's a big part of what we're trying to address.
And you've been in operation for a number of years now, so you've been doing this for a while.
This is our third year with our programs at the middle school. We've both been involved with a bunch of things in town for many years, but for these particular programs, it's our third year, and it's you know, every year the number of kids participating has increased, so it's been gret.
How many kids do you have roughly now for this year?
We have over
100,
We have over 100 kids involved this fall.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep, absolutely. And again, I you know, it's like it's a good number. Like, we feel like it should be, you know, double, 5 times that. You know, there's so many kids that should be out there doing more, but we're just going one day at a time, one step at a time.
And you're also a free program, and you run on volunteers.
Yes.
So that's quite a challenge to make happen.
Well, actually, what we do is for the coaches and stuff, when we're bringing the high schoolers, they're actually paid roles. So we're trying to foster leadership and appreciation for, you know, work and what that brings to you. So there's a leadership, mentorship element to it, and we also try to, you know, partner closely with the district to say, you know, if there's teacher assistants or any people on staff who want to be engaged, we're not looking to run an intramural program. We're looking for people who really are focused on like having these kids have a safe and happy experience. And so, so we do have paid staff who work to make that program successful.
And that's a big part, I think, as well for the high school kids. Again, like a parent of high school kids, like there's something real valuable for a high school kid to make their own money, you know, versus there's a lot of kids who do a lot of volunteer work around town, which is great. At the same time, I think it really, you know, it just does something for a kid when it's like that's their money. They understand the value of it. They've earned it themselves, and so that it's an important part of our program as well as the kids running around.
Right. And what is your what are some of your statistics for what you've accomplished so far?
Well, I mean, our key stat is the PI stat, which is again the positive, impactful experience. We actually keep track of each one of them because we really do believe that every single one of them really do matter. And so over 3 years, I think we've
1,200 pies.
We're at 1,200 pies, and growing. You know, every day that we're out there. We survey our participants every season as well because it's really important. We want to, you know, get the feedback from the kids and the parents, like, are they enjoying the program? I think we've had pretty much like 100% approval rate from everyone that like they're enjoying it. A lot of great comments and stuff. So. And
how do you sort out conflicts that might arise while the kids are out there playing?
Let them work it out. Yeah, you know, like that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's that's how they learn resiliency. Is, you know, we're there if it gets to a point where there's, you know, a true kind of major issue, but otherwise it's work it out, you know, amongst the kind of the parties that are involved. Then you have kind of your teams that can work it out. You have referees. There are multiple layers of kids that can kind of self-regulate and do the things that they're going to need to do in life. You know, they get the bad grade, they're going to have to figure out how to, you know, work on that. It's not going to be the mom and dad to call in. It's not kind of our job, at least as we see it, to jump in and intervene as the supervisor. And the kids just do incredibly well with that because they're there because they want to be there, and they generally enjoy being with each other. And we teach them lessons like, you know, you win some, you lose some. Joe's got a great kind of tradition where after every game, whatever the score, you line it up and shake it up. Unfortunately, you know, you don't see that happening as much anymore in professional sports or youth sports generally. So we're really trying to teach these values to kids that unfortunately aren't getting them as much anymore.
We definitely do some things differently as well in terms of like how we manage the games. one in particular is, you know, we're always, we keep score in the games because if you don't keep score, the kids just kind of lose interest. So we keep score, but we follow a method we call scoreboard-based officiating, which basically means we try to keep the games close. You know, so if a team is up by, you know, some points and there's a close call, and we tell the kids this in advance, if there's a close call, our refs are going to give the call to the team that's behind. Like that's, you know, that's how they're going to do it. And the reason is because, you know, close games are more fun than one team winning by a bunch of points. It's just, it's no fun. And so you'll get cases where there'll be a close call, and the bigger the margin in the score, the more the refs will give it to the team that's down. So there'll be kids and they get competitive and they're like, oh, wait a minute. And we're like, hey, listen. You know, and they get it. You know, it's like it may not be a straight up call, but they know it's in the interest of just everyone having fun together. And kids, when you let them, you know, they handle that a lot better than I think people think they would, because they do understand. Like, you know, we're all just out here. You know, it's after school. We're just playing flag football. We're just out here to have fun. And really, you know, and kids are great that way.
So after seeing how this works, and then you go back to your day jobs. And then you do you ever think, well, the kids handle this better than the adults in the boardroom?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people get caught up in, at different ages and you know, professions.
Yeah.
But I think generally the kids respond really well to that. And when you talk about resiliency and grit, it's not when you're doing well that you learn these valuable life lessons. I mean, the research has shown it's really when you have something adverse happen to you, something you have to struggle with, something that you need your friends and family to depend on and to sort of help pick you up. But it's that evolution of, you know, I can do this. I believe in myself. People believe in me. That gives kids the confidence to overcome things that would otherwise be insurmountable. And that's what we're finding more when people graduate from high school and maybe they go on to college. They spend more time and money on mental health issues than all the other traditional problems that kids faced in prior generations. And we think we can do something about it early.
Yeah, and then I think, you know, one of the other key elements of our programs is just pure fun. And I think, you know, when you mention parents, you know, there's tons of parents and coaches that are out there that, you know, I think everyone has like the best intentions. But one of the other trends that we've seen, which we're concerned with, is just over the years how youth sports has the priority on fun has diminished, and you know, it's been replaced by sort of this drive to, you know, succeed and excel. And you know, really like it's like youth sports has become so overly organized and pressurized.
It's more like competitive training.
Yeah, right. It's like it's
Forget
like
about the training.
Right. And especially for younger kids, for younger kids. And so, like, again, what do you do about that? And that's a big part of what, you know, we're trying to do that with our programs, but we're also trying to, within the community, we've established an organization called the Community Sports Collaborative, which really is just, it's teaming up all the youth sports organizations around town, who are all great organizations, but just helping everyone come together, you know, talk to each other about, you know, what are we all doing to make the best experiences possible to the kids in the programs that we're running throughout town. And we just got that group put together within the last year, and everyone, you know, is real enthusiastic. You know, they all want to do the right thing. The question is, how do you go about doing it? And all these organizations are dealing with, you know, outside private clubs that really present a challenge that we're all trying to deal with. So
it's interesting. And did you two know each other before you started this up together?
Yeah, so we'd see each other on the fields and just out there in the community. And you know, for me personally, after the success with box, I looked at the middle school, and box had kind of a best-in-class model for the elementary before school, but what I identified was it's after school, and it's really more wellness. And I thought what Joe was doing with terriers, you know, 25 years of experience we had in our own kind of backyard, an expert that we could leverage, and thankfully, you know, Joe saw that vision too, and ran with it, which was awesome.
And what was your aha moment for both of you that inspired you to go do something about this? What kind of trends were you noticing in the community that made you want to start this up?
I mean, I think we knew that we could make a difference, and I think we're on kind of like our third kid to, you know, now's the time. Like we've kind of watched and, you know, sort of seen. But I think more so than the creation, I think, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, Halloween was on a Friday. That was a bitter cold day, and I said, you know, and I'm usually the optimist. I'm usually like, you know, filling the glass. And I said to Joe, I don't know, it's cold. Like, I don't know if we're going to get any, and it's Halloween. They have basically permission to go out and be crazy. And sure enough, these kids came down, 70 plus strong kids in 30-degree weather, you know, windy, cold, and they wanted to play. And it was at that moment for me, I realized this is something special. These kids need it and they want it, and thank God, like, we're here to do that. And luckily, like, Wellesley Media was there too. Yeah. So we, you know, it was truly a community effort. So we were able to capture that.
Yeah. And then again, just being a parent and observing, you know, the dramatic difference just in a short period of time. You know, one of my daughter. We're sitting around the dinner table, and you know, she was a senior in the high school at the time, and our son was I think like a sixth grader, and she was saying, you know, when I was at the middle school, like we had cell phones, but everyone had flip phones. No one had no one had the smartphones. And just within a 5-year period of time, the difference that has made in terms of you know what you can do on one of those phones versus just like a flip phone, and how that's had an effect on the kids, and you really see it. And so, like, having the experience that we had, we're like, you know what, we can do something. You know, what do you do about it? And then, you know, it's like we can actually do something about this. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta go do it.
So by the time you get to your third child, you both feel like you're sort of veteran parents. You've got things figured out.
Better. You're learning every day, as you know.
Awesome.
Right?
Sounds great. So this is great. So tell me the ratio of girls versus boys.
Well, the girls, I mean, we've had some girls, but not nearly enough, and we are really trying to get more girls out there. It's a challenge. I mean, I'd say we have right now soccer. I'm going to say we probably have 20% of our participants are girls, which is great. It's all of our activities are co-ed, so they're out there playing with the boys. Flag football, we have a handful of girls. Basketball, we don't understand why we don't have any girls playing, but we're, you know, I think if you know, the reality is if we had a second day, if we had a gym and said girls basketball on Thursday, boys on Friday, I think we'd have some girls. It's, you know, the gym space is a challenge, and so you know, we're just doing the best that we can.
And we do make a conscious effort to try to identify sports that are non-traditional. So no one has an aspiration to be a professional dodgeball player, volleyball, you know, flag football. Those are all opportunities for kids to just mix it up and really, you know. There's no, people kind of value each other not for their gender or anything other than just for who they are. But that's a big thing that we want to do is to sort of say, you know what, it's okay to like get dirty. You know, I don't know, and like playing sports doesn't mean you're losing out on academics. You want to be balanced. So it's really trying to create those opportunities, educate parents and families that, you know what, letting your kid kind of let off some stress and be amongst their friends is probably a good investment. And
how do you both feel about the anxiety levels that all the parents are talking about now in our community? I think they're on the rise.
Highly concerned.
In the last 10 years?
Highly concerned. I mean, we absolutely, I mean, that is really what motivates us because it is like significant. And I just see it, you know, just with our own kids. I see the difference between our youngest and our oldest. I absolutely think the electronics is the reason, and we're doing, you know, we're doing everything that we can just with our programs to try to help. But it's a major challenge.
Yeah, and I think, you know, since the 1950s, you've just seen kind of this increase in anxiety and stress, depression, suicide for adolescents. We're talking grades 6 to 12, the leading cause of death, other than an unexpected death,
Right.
is suicide, right? That's more than heart disease, cancer, you name it,
Right.
all those combined. It's kids who basically say, I can't handle life and I don't want to be here. And that's for us, like one kid thinking about harming themselves, one kid hurting themselves in that dramatic way is enough for us to say, we need to rally here. We don't need that suicide cluster to form. And this is a national problem. You know, and some people I think are kind of misinformed when they think, oh, well, Wellesley's an affluent area, they don't have those kind of problems, they're not at risk. The reality is all kids nationally, and it crosses those statistics, cross, you know, economic, they cross racial divides. It says kids today are becoming less and less healthy, and it's not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And what we're trying to do is teach them in a safe, supportive environment how to kind of build that resiliency and that strength.
Right.
That life is worth, you know, living, and that there are people that care about them, and that they're never alone.
Right. Do you think that electronics is really the main reason for the rising trend? Because they have more access to compare themselves with everybody else and read global information that's coming their way.
And then just like the loss of like the
Face-to-face.
the face-to-face,
Right.
you know, they withdraw into these things that just like, you know, if the brain is just drawn to it. And so now, you know, it's all right here as opposed to being like, you know, we're growing up out in your backyard running around with a bunch of kids. And you know, so that's major. You know, I think, again, the trends in youth sports are another contributing factor because, you know, youth sports used to be a more healthy outlet for kids. And again, there are many great youth sports programs out there and great people doing things, yet the trend has been towards like more pressure, elitism, less about specialization, you know, not about just
Having fun.
going out, having fun, playing ball with kids from your town. You know, it's all about like now these kids are like, you know, thinking they're, you know, working at it like it's a job because they want to go get a college scholarship and pressure, again, pressure and kids who were not, you know, who are not like, you know, naturally gifted, are getting messages at a very early age that like, you know, they're not, you know, they're not as good of a fit, and that has effects and all. So that's just a trend, and again, just here within our town, we're trying to just help address that as well, and we think, you know, we think that we can have an impact here, and with everything that we're doing here, you know, they need it everywhere. So we're really, you know, part of our organizational mission is to like, you know, develop a blueprint that ultimately could, you know, be shared with other communities.
Wow, that's excellent. And do you know of any other communities around Wellesley who have called you and asked for help or advice, input?
You know, we've made some contacts with some individuals in Boston and some neighboring towns. You know, until we're able to build like our own organizational infrastructure, we feel like we need to just focus on what we're doing here, but that is definitely part of our long-term plan.
Right, so it's part of the plans to find a new mission control other than the kitchen.
Correct.
But the kitchen comes in handy, lots of snacks.
It does.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're fortunate.
Yeah.
No, we have a great team of people who dedicate their skills and time, and for what we have and what in terms of what we've accomplished, it's really incredible. You know, we've got the field that's going to be complete shortly. That was like a $1.3 million fundraising.
I hear it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah,
so I think it's opening this Saturday, right?
Yeah, and the ceremony is going to be this Saturday. I know they're challenged with weather and stuff, but that was another example where we may, in terms of our programs, not utilize that field, but our mission is really to see kids out there playing, and that means maybe it's the sports teams, maybe it's the clubs, maybe it's just you and your kids going out and throwing the frisbee around. But we just know that when you start to create that village, that neighborhood, benefits happen. And I think outside of technology, that's kind of what's precipitated this kind of tsunami of unwellness, is that we don't have the neighbors that are kind of looking out for each other. We don't have the kids that are just going out in the driveway and gathering and playing hide and go seek and things like that. It's just, you know, it's like a building as opposed to a home, and the same thing with the community activities.
Right.
I think we can do a lot more in Wellesley in terms of bringing people together, not just young people, but all people, to kind of understand, there's strength in diversity.
Right.
There's, strength in understanding different perspectives. And when you're in your house and that's it, and people, they work really hard to be able to afford to live in this community. And I get that, but I don't think we should lose sight of what we're ultimately trying to do, which is hopefully contribute to the community and to each other.
Right. Yeah, I got to tell you, I have a confession. I was watching CNN a few days ago, and I found it stressful because there's a split screen, and then now it's like 4 screens, and then you have the tape that runs underneath, and now there's a double tape.
Yeah.
So there's 2 bits of information going either way, and I couldn't figure out what I should focus on.
Right.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and that's the thing. If you're not anchored in a healthy way, and whether it's by your parents, teachers, coaches, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, the kids, honestly, like, be your own hero. And the kids, if we're looking out for each other, then we're going to be in a better place. But if we're disconnected and technology comes in and we've got this opiate epidemic, that's sweeping the nation, we got a pretty big battle to face if we don't get at this early. But we feel that that 6th to 7th grade window is just a critical time in kids' lives to make a difference.
And do you see that there's that's really more than high school, it's really middle school that you'd like to target?
Well, initially, I think they really need it at those ages, and then just program-wise, that's where we saw a real need for additional programming. So we're like, we'll try
Focusing
to help
on
out.
that.
Long term, we would love to be able to build a program that carries up to the high school level, because the high school does an amazing job of like getting kids playing ball. At the same time, there's still a lot of kids there that really, they're either, it may be a sport where they make cuts, and so basketball is a tough sport to make one of those teams. So we'd love to build some of our programs up so that a high school student would have the option of either playing for one of the varsity sports, or just like having fun playing intramurals. And so that gets into like the issue that we have here in our town with like the shortages of fields and facilities, specifically like indoor recreational facilities, like gym space. We have a major shortage, and I know the town is like, looking at that planning wise, so we just have to be patient and hopefully have more that we can work with down the road.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and also the athletic review that's taking place. That's the first time in over a decade that the school district is actually looking at the athletic program and seeing kind of what we can do to make this better for kids. Because as Joe said, we're just trying to get kids connected and socialized and de-stress at the middle school. I think at the high school, what happens is, your whole kind of life is, I'm playing soccer, and then when you get to 8th, 9th grade, I don't play soccer anymore. And there's a loss of identity. And Joe's, had that experience, I've had that experience where you see these kids and they've lost part of themselves, part of their identity, and we don't want them to feel any less because they're not on the school competitive team. They could be on the intramural team. Let's provide them with opportunities to stay connected, stay healthy, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
And have fun. Again, like it's really, as great as our programs are at the high school, like hopefully they're all trying to promote like the activities as like fun, that the kids are having fun. And, hopefully this athletics review will help, prioritize that. And again, that's why, the programs that we're doing are really, that's like, rule number 1. And it's, again, it's something, just see, like high school kids definitely, they're going through so much, they have so much pressure. It's almost like when you see them, they've lost their ability to have fun in many ways. I mean, they know how to have fun in some ways. A lot of times it becomes like they have fun in the wrong ways. And so, that's, again, what long-term we'd love to be able to, like, bring more programs to the high school and, get more kids out, like, having fun.
Right, that's a great mission statement, to pursue fun.
You're right.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's the power of play.
Yeah,
That's right. That's great.
Because unfortunately, everything's accelerated, right? So high school is college, middle school is high school. You're lucky to have a childhood somewhere in between. We want to kind of slow that down, take a breath, have some fun.
Right.
You can learn valuable lessons, and they're going to come back to you at some shape or form. But rather, you experience them in a setting that's supportive and capable of handling it, than to kind of talk about drug use in 12th grade. So I think frequent conversations, experiences add a lot of value to the community, not just that individual kid, but to the families and to the larger community. Our police department does a ton of outreach work, and everyone. We're really blessed to have the infrastructure that we have in Wellesley. It's just that this is a rising issue that we want to kind of proactively address rather than reactive.
That's the dodgeball program in particular. I feel like that's one that it's just people hear the word dodgeball and they all think of like their own childhood where dodgeball was not necessarily always a great activity. And we've really redesigned the game to bring out what I think are some very unique benefits from the activity. I mean, number one, we use foam balls, so they don't use the old red. See, everyone used to play with the red playground balls.
They're
so
not as painful.
Right. We took the pain out of the game, but there's just something very like primal about like getting kids in a gym, throwing a bunch of balls out there, cranking some tunes, and just letting them run around and throw balls at each other. They absolutely love it. And it's just like an absolute physical and mental release for them. They come out of there 45 minutes later, they're like soaked. There's very few rules other than just be good to one another. There are no like elite travel dodgeball teams. There are no
yet.
There are no yet. Right. Oh, hopefully.
Once you make it popular, you never know.
But it's just get in there, have fun, throw the ball around. You may get hit in the face,
and that's okay because it's fun.
Yeah, you kind of and it's all that, and they just like thrive on it.
And do you two get out there and join a few games?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They love to like chase us down and nail us.
And the other thing I wanted to add with dodgeball is the way Joe's redesigned dodgeball for his purposes and for community investors is so special that the Boston University's graduate school, right? You can get your PhD in coaching. Look to Joe as a leader who's changed the game and changed it for the better. So it's take a traditional game, and these are the constructs, but can you take it to a level that's even better? And he's done that. And one of the things that I really kind of look to in admiration of what Joe's done is, it's not just boys and girls out there, but kids of different abilities and some kids with special needs. So Joe's got a version of dodgeball called Dr. Dodgeball, where maybe you get hit and you're out, but you're just frozen, and you can be kind of brought back into the game by the doctor, and you don't know who necessarily the doctor is. But there's one boy in particular who is autistic, and he is the best doctor. And and all the kids want him, and they see him for who he is. And you see that compassion and that caring that he has this innate ability to do, and he's diving and saving kids and getting them back in the game. And his mom comes back to us and says, if it weren't for dodgeball, he wouldn't have any other sport activity.
He has a hard time throwing, hard time catching, but he's like really good
at
like
dodging.
going in, and just going and tagging his teammates and getting them back in the game. And it's like it's unbelievable to see that. It really is.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. That's what a great program you have. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And growing. So
And
we
growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So one
thank
more
you for
time.
helping us get
Yeah,
the word
of
out
course.
there on it.
Communityinvestors.net.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
That is it.
So that's where we'll go to
Yes.
Check
find
it
out
out.
more about you and
Yep.
sign up.
We've got a
our
lot
email.
of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. We've
Info
got
at
highlight videos on there and a bunch of good stuff on there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Chris and
Thank
Joe.
you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, Rama.
And you'll have to come back and tell us about your positive metrics in the next time.
Will do.
You got it.
It's a deal. Thank you.
Thank you.